Real Estate Today, sponsored by the Hahn team on 93.9 KPDQ. Mike Lee here with Gloria Hahn, licensed in both Oregon and Washington with RE/MAX Equity Group. You can call or text her directly at 503-997-5745. Do make sure to follow Gloria Hahn Realtor on Facebook. And the website, GloriaHahn.com, actually has her old programs on podcast. So if you missed something or would like to hear it again, make sure to go to GloriaHahn.com. So how are you today, Gloria?
I'm wonderful. I'm breaking the rules, and I'm here in person, and I'm loving it. So, yeah.
And you're not alone today, are you?
No, I'm not. And I'm really excited and grateful that Dr. David Day is here with me today. We planned this show a few months ago that he would be on with me way before we had a coronavirus. So it's just amazing how the Lord works out timing perfectly, because what a timely thing to talk about today. We're going to talk about things to do to help us get through this, all kinds of things. So thank you, Dr. Dave, for taking time to come in.
You bet.
Always good to have you, Dr. Day. So how's it been for you as a professional
Wow.
a chiropractic expert?
Well,
what have you seen?
So here's the thing. I'm trying to help people move beyond fear and to think about how wonderful their immune system is. That God gave us an adaptive immune system. And that what I can do for somebody when I adjust their spine, I'm thinking about how it's going to help improve the resolution of their immune system so that they will be healthier, and if they do come into contact with this coronavirus, that their body, just like any other infection, it will identify it and destroy it. And that's what happens for most people. Now, what scares us a little bit is the number of people who, maybe that 15% of the people who are a little bit more vulnerable. But if I have somebody who has a history of asthma, or I know they've got some issues, COPD or something like that, I know they're vulnerable, for that person, this adjustment is so much more important. So I'm trying to keep my mind, instead of being fearful, I'm trying to be there and be present for my patients and give them what I believe is the most powerful thing they can have, and that's an adjustment. And I say that partly because if we look back in history, that last big bad pandemic that everybody's talking about now, we need to think about that and learn from that. That happened in 1918 and 1919. There were 3 waves, Gloria. And what they did is, so many people died. It was so terrible. I mean, the estimates are perhaps as many as 50 million people died across the entire world. In the U.S., we had over 500,000 people die from that. So it was very scary, and there were 3 waves that went across the country, and it was the second wave that was the worst. But the interesting thing about chiropractors is back then, we had just been discovered maybe maybe 20 years before that, okay? We didn't really know as a profession kind of where we could fit in. The medical doctors wanted to glop us in, under the medical field, but we didn't want to be under the medical field because we thought differently. We wanted to be our own. And what happened was the chiropractors started treating these patients who got sick with the flu. And what they found out was a lot of them didn't die. And so the death rate of patients under chiropractic care was substantially better than those under medical care. Now, realize this was before antibiotics. So there really wasn't that much that the medical doctors had to offer, right? So we had to kind of think about the context of this. But it was something that was so statistically significant that chiropractors became known as flu doctors. And part of it, I think, of that particular strain, it affected young people much more. Like now, this coronavirus affects older people more and that sort of thing. Well, that flu affected young people, and part of it was their immune system basically overreacted to it, and it was killed by the overreaction of their immune system to this. And so what apparently getting adjusted helped the immune system not mount and it kind of kept it in better balance, so it didn't because people once they got exposed to it, within a number of hours and days they died. It was really scary when you read the statistics about that. So you go, well, okay, well, the coronavirus, well, what about that? Well, so is it possible that by adjusting your spine, just like the other situation, if we can help your immune system have better visibility and better, it's almost like I tell people, it's almost like I'm going to improve the resolution of your immune system. And so something about adjusting the nerves helps your nerve system see better and respond better and be better. And so that's what's so exciting for me.
Do we know how long it takes our immune system to get to where they can fight a virus that they've never seen before?
Yeah.
Or never
Well,
been exposed to before?
So So here's the problem: the ability of your body to it probably has something to do with the signaling and the identification that this is a virus that is not me. That it's so. Off of each, have you seen that coronavirus, the picture with all the little projection, right?
Yeah.
So it probably has something to do with that. So when the cells bump against each other and they have their feelers out and they touch, they have to be able to touch. Wait a minute, this isn't me. This is something that isn't good. And then your body has to then assemble some of the immune fighting processes to that and kill it. So that's, and I don't know that we fully know that the reason that the novel ones are so dangerous for us is that we don't have any store. Like if we get exposed to something and we successfully fight it off, our body stores in our lymph system the templates for what is needed. So if we ever get exposed to that thing again, we got the template. And so like, how many of us, if we get sick, we feel a swollen lymph node or something? Oh, you go, I'm sick. No. That probably means you're healthy, and it probably means that whatever you're dealing with, your body has seen before, and that's a lymph gland where that template is stored. And the swelling of your lymph gland is that is that system going into manufacture so that your body can fight what you've been exposed to, you see. So it's kind of, we have to kind of rethink just a little bit about how we think about this, but it's kind of exciting to think about. And so, anyhow, yeah.
It's exciting to think
It
about
is.
There are other options
Mhm.
too, and I think that's what we want to give people today is hope. There are other things
Yeah.
to help, and why don't we start right off the bat with your background?
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about you. I know you've been here on the radio on this station
Yeah.
many years. But
Yeah. So I've been in practice probably 33 years or something like that. I graduated in '86. Yeah. So my dad was a chiropractor. My grandpa was a medical doctor. My mom's an RN. So I grew up in a family that grandpa was the medical doctor for my town, and my dad was the chiropractor for the town. And my mom actually was a nurse working at Josephine. In fact, one of the places up in Washington, you've heard about the facility in Kirkland.
Mm-hmm.
The other one up in Stanwood, Washington, that's where my mom worked. That was the town I grew up in. So it's kind of interesting to see this. But my mom, her whole career, she spent working in a retirement nursing home, essentially, caring for people. My dad was a chiropractor. I mean, till the day he had his stroke and couldn't practice anymore. I mean, he was a chiropractor. And my grandpa, at the age of 80, we were in the process of moving his office to his house so he could keep being the medical doctor. And he ended up passing away in that, during that period of time, which was kind of sad. But these men loved their patients, and so I got to grow up in a place where my dad, who was a chiropractor, loved and respected my grandpa, who was a medical doctor, and my grandpa loved my dad, and they had great respect for each other. Now they often did disagree because they had difference in philosophy, okay, but that didn't affect. They loved each other, and they had respect for each other and what each one could bring to the table. And so that's kind of how. So I saw that growing up, and if you can imagine. When we had family gatherings and things like that, I would often just stay and be at the table because invariably, this was long before HIPAA, right?
Right.
My dad, my grandpa, they were taking care of the same people, right, and families and stuff like that. So invariably, the conversation would turn into health and people and what are we doing? And I'd go on house calls with both Dad and Grandpa, and they knew I had an interest in that, and so I think that was kind of nurtured. And I knew by the time I was in high school that I was going to be a chiropractor. I love, there's elements of medicine that I love. I was an EMT, I did a volunteer fireman, I did that sort of stuff. There's something exciting about being able to help out someone in a crisis and that sort of thing. But what I realized, and I'll never forget, Mrs. Crawford took my hand and she said, "I'm alive today because you're your dad." And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. So you realize that these people, if they've had health problems that were just daunting, they didn't know what to do, and they finally turned to chiropractic, and it changes their life. You go, oh, that's neat, and so that's I ended up wanting to become a chiropractor, and so this is kind of I'm living my dream essentially, which is really exciting to be able to say.
Well, you're great at it, and you love your people. It's
Yes.
so obvious when you walk into your clinic that you love your people and they love you.
Yes.
I'm one of them, of course, because
Yes.
you've been my doctor now
Yeah.
for quite a few years too, and so I just really appreciate your optimism and your outlook. You're always happy, and
Yes.
that's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes, and I love what I do. I love speaking healing to people and helping them walk through what often is a kind of like it almost seems like a minefield. You're trying to figure out what to do, how to get healthy, and a lot of things you've tried kind of have blown up in your face, and they're just, how do we navigate that and get well, and
Right.
encourage people when they get discouraged.
But what I love about your outlook, Dr. Day, is you just ooze positivity. It's obvious how passionate you are
Yes.
about being in your field and having your dream job. So
Yes.
this just isn't going through the motions for
No.
you. This is every day is a new opportunity to take
Yes.
your passion and help and heal.
Yes. Now I will tell you, this is certainly challenging my optimism.
Oh, yeah. I think it is everyone, but I think we have to just really check ourselves
Yes.
and remember that we need to be optimistic
Yes.
because we have the greatest healer
Amen.
on our team.
Yes.
We know he's in charge,
Yes.
and we can just grab a hold of him and
Yes.
hold on, even when we're scared.
Yes.
And I know people out there are scared. I mean, I have moments when I'm fearful, but
Yes.
I really believe that fear is a lack of faith.
Mhm.
So I try to grab onto the Lord and just hang on
Yeah.
for the ride, because I know he's in charge. He's got this.
Yes, and I think sometimes if we could take that fear, kind of channel it into things like, what am I doing? Well, I intentionally, when I'm adjusting somebody, I am wiping down their table before and after they get on.
Right.
I've taken that kind of that mantle. So I can either resent that, or I can say, this is part of my ministering to this patient and to my next patient. I'm going to prepare this table before them. And I'm going to I'm trying to have that attitude, right? And so that takes something that I can resent. We have one of those contactless thermometer. We check everybody's temperature when they come in now.
Really?
Yes, and part of that is to protect us, protect them. They may be starting to run a fever they don't know they are, and things like that. So we can do things. These are the things that we can do, right? I mean, I worry about my staff. I mean, if somebody comes in who has the coronavirus, and they don't know it, I don't know it, nobody knows it, we're kind of exposing us and
Right.
other patients, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I have to think, okay, Lord, am I being a Pollyanna sort of like this, or can you protect me and help protect our practice, and let's us serve people, and then we're going to trust that God is going to do something amazing, and as long as the state allows us to do that, we'll do it, right? And it may be like my right across the way, we've got a dentist. Well, they can't see anyone but emergency cases, and it may be Governor Brown may end up coming down and saying, even if you're essential, you can only do emergency or something like that. Now that will be hard for me because of what I know and believe about how powerful this chiropractic adjustment is. But I also know not everybody believes that, and and there are sometimes you make a decision for the good of for the population. Now, we do need to talk about the decision that has been made, though. There's a lot of data from that flu that happened in 1918 and 1919. And what we know is there are some cities that made choices that affected how it went across and throughout their city. For instance, there was a bad outbreak in Boston. And there was a ship that went from Boston to Philadelphia that had 2 soldiers who ended up getting sick and then dying from the flu, and that then transmitted to 14, and then so this thing was happening and unfolding in their city. But the people who made the decisions about what to do about it wanted to kind of hide that under the rug. There was a very large parade, and it was the largest parade Philadelphia had ever had up to that point, a Liberty Day parade. It was very patriotic and things like this. They were unwilling to cancel that. That decision ended up being devastating because it spiked and swept across the whole city, and it just overwhelmed all the resources. It was really, really something. Well, and now the problem is that we're talking about flattening the wave. So that big spike that happened in Philadelphia, St. Louis did something different. As soon as the first person in their city got the flu, they clamped down on everything, stopped social, kind of like what we've done here. All large gatherings stopped, schools out, boom, 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 like that. And the wave flattened. So they had a wave, but like what we're hoping is going to happen here. But the problem is, the cities that do the big spike that overwhelms everything, usually it's relatively short. And I wish people would talk about the consequence of this. We need to hunker down. If we are using this decision about the social distancing and this sort of stuff, it is, I believe, is the right decision. But it does mean we have to think, not just like this is a little sprint. We have to be thinking more like we're preparing for a marathon. So I know none of us want to think like this, and it doesn't mean that we're going to have to be like this forever. But we have to, let's start thinking in our minds. Let's make choices and decisions about how we're living in a way that we could go longer and it's going to be a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's a good start.
Yeah.
Shall we go to break, Mike, and then?
I think that's a good idea. And yes, you are listening to Real Estate Today. And we're kind of stretching here because Dr. David Day of Day Chiropractic is the personal doctor of Gloria Hahn, our real estate expert here. So it is related.
It is related.
And
yes.
especially nowadays in an era of uncertainty and things
Yes.
we're not used to. Gloria, I want to thank you for bringing Dr. Day on the air today to help educate us and quell some fears and give
Yes.
us some great
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
I think, everything's related. I mean, everything about our health and our families relate to
Yes.
real estate. So in my heart, this is still about real estate, but it's about
Yes.
the most important real estate, and that's our families.
Mhm.
So,
Amen to that. Dr. David Day's phone number is 503-760-7572. And you're listening to Real Estate Today, sponsored by the Hahn team on 93.9 KPDQ.